Yeah, you mentioned something that I think is really critical for others to pick up on, and that one of your key roles is to simplify the complexities of digitals to educate others as well. And you've mentioned this purpose a few times, or this why. I was it a year or two ago, you guys had a transformative purpose workshop or a why
Yes.
workshop that helped to educate others into the greater meanings of where you were going along this digital growth journey. How did that
Sure.
help tear down what we would traditionally see as like internal silos?
Okay, that's a wonderful question. So about 2 years ago, really briefly, our senior leadership got the staff all together for training day, and we did a deep dive in studying on Simon Sinek's Start with Why. And basically, the short of it is you have 15 seconds to tell a person what you do. How do you explain that in a way that's clear and concise? Us implementing the why statement of our organization, which is to help people so that they can focus on life first, kind of unified our entire staff around this idea that you're not just a teller, you're not an MSR, you're not a marketer, you're not a director. You are a person who's here to help people so that they can focus on life first. Having that be a guiding force, and then I want to mention also, it's a guiding force, but a practice that we do internally is that every staff member is required to submit what we call why stories. And these why stories are basically just a moment to take a step away from the day-to-day duties of your job and talk about how you help someone, whether that's internal or external. By making that a mandate, which is actually kind of fun to do because you have to look for opportunities to help others, but making that a mandate, we have now created this sense of unity internally that every staff meeting, I think we'll have one here tomorrow actually, we get together and get to hear all these different stories of how, as simple as a teller or possibly as great as a CEO, not to say that those are levels here, but how they help someone. And it just reminds us of why we come here every day. You're with your coworker.
Yeah, no,
Go ahead.
you talked about look for opportunities to help others. There's that empathetic perspective coming out with just the way that you're communicating. So having that not only be within the marketing department, but expanded throughout top to bottom, bottom to top is what I believe is one of the reasons that you guys have made so much progress over the past years. Speaking of progress, on the flip side, there are challenges and roadblocks that you've had to eliminate. I often liken this to legacy thinking, like if it isn't broke, don't fix it, or that's the way we've always done it.
Correct.
I can think of so many traditional brands that have been brought down because of that limited perspective. Borders, Blockbuster, Kodak, and even more recently, one near and dear to my heart, Toys R Us. How have you been able to overcome this limited mindset that is just I feel has the potential to be the death knell or to be so deadly for others?
Well, I'm fortunate enough to work for an organization that's very excellence driven. And what that means is we tend to come up with a lot of really cool ways to get the job done. But with that, we have this thing where we just kind of try to simplify processes. We went, I think about 3 years ago now, we went on an ease migration where we leaned everything out. The problem with that is, or I shouldn't say problem, but the challenge with that is that once you lean something out, you kind of get used to it being status quo. And I think that the way we've overcome that is we realize that that's an ongoing journey. It's not a one and done. You don't lean something out one time and that's it. It's just a continual refocus internally. Say, okay, great, that worked this area, in this area, in this time period, and it was super successful. Being willing to take a step back and say, how can we improve upon that just to make it easier both for the internal and external customer alike? So I guess the answer is just simply realizing that it's an ongoing conversation and you don't stop with one time.
You've got so much practical wisdom right there, because I think a lot of financial brands, as I've talked so many times before, they get stuck in the doing of digital that they don't take time to stop, pause, learn about what they've been working on, how to apply those learnings through the thinking, so that whenever they do it again, they do it even that much better. But what you're talking about is a critical step of review and refinement. You actually have a practical example of that with an internal process called pre-apps that I feel like has been a transformative experience. What has that process looked like for you at Louisiana?
Well, initially, that's actually the perfect example. Initially, about 2.5, maybe 3 years ago, we rolled out the pre-app process, which is simply asking for high-level lead generation information at the start of an application with the purpose of making sure if a person starts an application, they finish it. I liken it to the shopping cart mindset. You put stuff in your shopping cart on Amazon, but you're not entirely ready to commit. Well, we piloted that program in 2017 or 18, I believe. And because of implementing that, we were able to capture 74 additional loans that we normally would not have captured. Well, fast forward, one little hiccup happens, which is the status quo with digital. As things grow and evolve, new ways of doing things come up, and you gotta be flexible and adjustable. And it created some internal fear, I would say, and we turned it off. And it was an argument that this is an extra step, and we're slowing our members down. So it just took time, like I said, going back to the chopping block and saying, hey, listen, here's how this has benefited us. Here's how we can grow from it. This is the additional leads we were able to capture off of it. This is the importance behind it. So it took me and all the stakeholders getting in one room, whiteboarding it out and showing them the process from start to finish, and then the benefit behind the process. And now is the go-to way of doing things when it comes to application processes, because now I'm able to retarget members who start an application and don't finish it, and just educate them and nurture them, because not everybody's ready to click buy when they stick something in their cart. So we got to, understand where our members are and meet them at their needs.
The process you're talking about is probably one of the quickest wins a financial brand can experience to maximize their digital growth, because we see abandonment rates for online applications, whether it be for a loan product or a deposit, a new account, be between 85, 90, 92, sometimes upwards of 95% for one reason or another. These are traditionally things that are beyond the control of the financial brand. But by deploying this pre-app and then optimizing it, you've really created exponential value every step of the way. But you had to not only be an empathetic experience engineer for the prospect, you also had to be an empathetic experience educator for internal team members as well.
Correct.
So I think that's a really key lesson. You're playing really two roles. You're developing systems and processes that are external facing, but you're also having to educate others into why, coming back to your point with Simon Sinek, why are we doing this first and foremost? And then you can talk about the what and the how. Yeah.
Correct. Yeah.